Hey, this is Instamentality. I'm T.
And I'm Kat. And then today we'll be discussing the mentality of human rights.
Do they exist? Do they ever exist? And do we actually care about them? Now, are human rights even something that should be defined, or are they this thing that we're just supposed to know that humans have?
They have already been defined, in my opinion. With the UN, there's a Declaration of Human Rights, right?
So you're going to take the UN's declaration because isn't that representative of one culture and not necessarily all cultures?
China has a completely different definition of human rights. In fact, China rejects the UN's definition and the Western definition of human rights.
Yeah, in fact, there's even a thing called the Cairo Declaration of Human Rights, which is for like the countries in like the Middle East and Northern Africa and South Asia and East Asia.
Yeah. Well, what does that, like, how does that differ from UN's definition?
It's okay. So I think the UN definition, like, those specific countries did not like agree with certain parts of the UN declaration, so they drew up their own declaration. I'm not sure of I think I know some differences. Like, I think it affirms that all humans have dignity, like, regardless of, like, whatever they are. But, like, the UN declaration, I think, says that it would treat, like, everyone equally. And then the Cairo declaration, I believe, does not say, like, everyone would get treated equally, per se.
So do you think there should
more like, I guess, fairness.
So do you think there should be, like, no definition, no defining of human rights, because human rights sort of depends on the culture that you're surrounded in?
I mean, maybe there's a universal human thing that we all agree on, but I don't know what it would be, honestly. Like, it even brings up the question, why should humans have rights? What makes a human... Why should I give a human right over, like, an animal?
This is sort of like morality, though, right? Cause
yeah, you could say it's correlated with morality and difference in culture. But anyways, do you think the development of those laws and, I guess, the development of civilization is correlated with the development of human rights? And another thing is, human rights are always changing. I think I read somewhere that the internet should be a human right. But if we keep on this human rights topic, what is human rights? What would you say is human rights? Like, what is the core basic thing that you believe? I mean, are all of us even equal? But then a lot of things probably don't deserve to be treated equal. A lot of things, I guess, need fairness, maybe. Like, for example, maternity. I guess we can define human rights based on the values of a certain culture. Let's take this, like, nebulous cloud of this definition we call human rights. Do we value human rights in America? No. Wrong. Which, in that case, what's the difference between caring and not caring? Either way, you're not taking action. Maybe we never cared about human rights, and it's just this idea that we have in our heads that we care about it. Okay?
Back, sorry about that.
So, if you guys didn't know, Kat just abandoned me because she realized that she didn't actually care about human rights and felt a little bad about herself. But then, let's go on to politics and human rights. Does your political stance change your view on human rights?
It's not just one side that has had human rights abuses. It's everywhere, every single person. I'm not saying that Trump is better than Hillary or Hillary is better than Trump. It's just that we have to realize that both sides have committed human rights abuses.
I understand that totally.
But we vote for the candidate that we think will do things best for us, right? We have our best interest in mind.
Do you think people should vote for their interests, in their interests, or no?
Should they morally? Probably not, but, you know, people like to do what's best for themselves. Probably, if you want to say morally and regarding human rights, people should probably do what's best for the country and everyone.
Why the country? Why do we need to be slaves to the state for everyone?
And that brings up another issue, though, because if you say we should do what's best for everyone, what is everyone? So you should, not everyone falls into the same category. So if you want to say do what's best for the most number of people, doing what's best for the majority, and then what, you just ignore the minority? Like, you know?
Yeah, and I guess that's also tied to individualism versus collectivism, right? Are you saying like what I personally think for like me, or like what I think other people should do? Because if I talk about what other people should do, wouldn't it be in my best interest to say that they should do whatever good for my interest?
Right, but then why is there a distinction between you and everybody else?
Like, what's different than me compared to every other human? We talked about how satire is meant to open people up, and so they can see the flaws of others and then understand, like, their own flaws. Because it's hard for someone to understand flaws of themselves, right?
Yeah.
So when you, like, criticize a person, they're less likely to change. But if you make them laugh and you give comedy while putting, like, a satirist tone throughout the piece, you can kind of open their mind up. It's kind of weird that we always need something to relate to. Like, we always need superimpose our human view, our human self on something to understand something.